What's going on, guys? We are coasting the Mediaverse, and we are back to review Project Hail Mary, released early in March of 2026, directed by Lord and Miller, and starring Ryan Gosling. How we doing, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good. I was gonna introduce myself as Grace because I'm so him for real after watching that movie, but I am Michael.
You are the most Ryan Gosling-coded person I know. More than Ryan Gosling, actually.
And that's what I'm trying to do. That's hopefully one day I believe it, so it's in my Instagram bio, but we're working on it.
There are some days where I'll throw on La La Land and I'll be like, "Yo, Michael, what are you doing there?" And I go, "What the heck?"
Yeah, my favorite horror movie that I was in.
A horror movie, La La Land. Oh, emotional horror.
Emotional horror.
But yeah, we are back to review Project Hail Mary. I've seen it 3 times now in theaters, and it's a great movie.
I've seen it a solid 1 time, but I am dreaming about it constantly.
Yeah, and you and I have been sending memes about it. We've been talking about it constantly with different friends, family, things like that. But yeah, should I summarize it a little bit before we get into the discussion? So, microbiologist and middle school teacher Ryland Grace is assigned to work on a project with the international government because the sun is dying, or the sun is slowly shrinking. It turns out that there are microorganisms, which are named astrophages, that are eating the sun. They discover a thing called the something line? Petrova line. The Petrova line. And they are tasked to essentially go to another planet, go to another star system that has a Petrova line, but is not dying. So the star is not dying, where every other star in this galaxy or this star cluster is infected and dying. So the Earth is sending a last-ditch effort, a Project Hail Mary, if you would, and they send up 3 astronauts. But then, fun fact, Ryland Grace is the only one that wakes up alive. Everyone from the start of the movie is dead except for him. He is now alone on this mission. He starts out with none of his memories, and he must figure out first who he is as a person, and then second, how to do this impossible task. Along the way, he meets a friend of sorts, another species of, I guess you could say they're both aliens because they're not from this system.
To each other.
Yeah, exactly. Rocky is from a planet called Arid, and his planet is going through the exact same thing. So they sent up Rocky as well as a dozen other of his species to this exact star system as well. But similar to Grace, Rocky is the only surviving member of his crew. So now these 2 unlikely, duos, most science movies don't really have the 2 aliens working together, well. Most of the time it's very scary, and that's how we're first introduced with Rocky. But no, they become great friends, and it's actually a very lighthearted, fun movie. If you know anything about Andy Weir, he also did The Martian, and The Martian has a lot of science, a lot of heart, a lot of high stakes, space missions, and yeah, I think that's about summarizes it up. Let's hear your thoughts on the matter, Michael.
I think right out the gate, some of you who have watched this movie or have thought about watching and haven't yet are doing the comparison to other space movies you've seen, like The Martian, Interstellar, and even Alien, right? You're trying to figure out what the vibe is. Trying to figure out what kind of movie is this, something we should be scared of meeting other aliens, or is this something that we're all going to work together in a more happy story? And it is that, right? It is as we love to say, a dynamic duo movie.
Oh, yeah.
It is definitely a movie about 2 people who their first thoughts, especially with humans, should be to be fearful or want to fight or control the other species of each other to have survival for our side versus, the other person that's in this kind of same rush to fix their world. However, Rocky and Grace are just full of so much compassion and bravery which is what they really connect over, even past the fears they have of meeting each other for the first time. I think Rocky shows that immediately, and Grace is hesitant at first, which could be a little bit into the differences in how we are naturally from a species human to, what was their species name again?
Iridian?
Iridian.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just such a fun movie, comparisons aside. I personally loved it a lot more than most space movies I've seen, which is kind of big for me. It was like, as much as I'm really into space and I go back and forth on it, this one touched me in places that kind of I haven't had an experience with since, like I'd mentioned, Iron Giant, right? In these feelings of putting our differences aside and working together and coming to a better outcome, and even choosing at sometimes to sacrifice yourself for someone you might not know because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. You nailed it on the head, especially with the Iron Giant comparison. These unlikely pairings, I guess you can call it, and people who, they're technically aliens, so you shouldn't, I don't know. It's that hesitation, but it's I want to say humanity, but Rocky's not a human. Yet he is the most compassionate and caring person to Grace.
Exactly. And that's something that usually, like in a lot of space things, like one of my favorite deep cuts is from a TV show called Farscape, where it gives you like a what if scenario if Earth was to find this alien team arrive there, and it pretty much their first instinct is capture, dissect, and figure out how they work, but have no care for their life. Versus this, Rocky shows more humanity in that sense of caring for another immediately when Grace shows up to kind of give him the, hey, I'm not trying to hurt you. I am not hostile. I would like to get your help with it. And they figured that out as they go. I mean, and also Grace's willingness and eagerness to take that step, which is like human curiosity, and then just kind of start using all their tools and adapting to learn how to communicate and solve this damn thing.
I mean, because, this movie has a lot of things going for it. It is, one, absolutely gorgeous to look at. Every shot is amazing. And then there are some shots that are taken in space that are just breathtaking. The one that comes to mind is when he's in the betrothal line and they turn on the infrared, and it's all the red glowing. And even the planet that they go to, which they name Adrian, I think that like the swirling greens and the yellows and like the browns, like it just looks awesome. They did a really good job with those. And on top of that, the score, the music is just, incredible. It flows with it really well. I sent you something recently where I was just like listening to it on repeat over and over again. And then the writing is just great. It's, Andy Weir is a really talented writer. He knows how to mix a lot of tones, because there are times you're laughing really hard in this movie. There are times you're holding your breath with suspense. And then there are times where I was shedding tears. And the first time I saw this movie, I saw it with you. You and I had a lot of laughs with watching it. And then we were, you get really tense and quiet. I brought my partner to see it a week later because I had a feeling that they would like it. And it was when Rocky was telling Grace that he can send Grace home with his extra astrophage. And Grace realizes that he can go home. And he was just saying that he made peace that he was going to die in space. And then he comes out of the shadow and he's sobbing. And Ryan Gosling is doing a perfect job at playing this character. Like it's a great performance. And my partner, who I'm like holding on to, is I feel and hear just sobbing. And I look over and just absolutely bawling. And at the end of the movie, just with how, optimistic and happy it is at the end, they absolutely loved it. And then we went back and saw it again a week later because it's just a great movie. Like I said, you're laughing half the time, you're crying in some parts.
And something that you're mentioning on that I really, really enjoy from this movie is that there are multiple ending points, right? Like, you think the movie might end when Rocky, quote unquote, dies. And you're like, this is horrible. I can feel like this is a real ending. The sacrifice is there. I wish he would, find a way to bring him back. Then he comes back. And then they fix the problem. They go through this beautiful, like you said, the beautiful shot and grabbing everything and almost going wrong. But it's like, hey, we did it. And then he realizes, oh, shoot. His ship's going to be fucked. Now I need to head over there and save him. But in doing so, I can't get back to Earth.
Yeah.
Loses that. So now that's the end of the act. And we think, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that journey is the ending decision. Then we get the final act, which is him being on the planet and realizing that he's lived a life here. Earth's saved. Their planet is saved. And what's next for them? Is he going to stay here, or is he going to go back into Earth, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
But that alone, I really enjoyed, and a lot of people had a grip with it. But like, I think that works perfectly for the suspense of feeling like every single moment means that much.
Yeah.
That if it would end here, how impactful would that be? And
for
how
sure.
insanely intense is it that they keep going? As well as something I want to call out with the movie I really enjoy is that we're learning through flashbacks as Grace is getting his memory back.
I was actually just about to bring that up, because there are two, you actually just brought up both things that I was going to mention. There are two aspects of this movie that when I talk to a lot of people about, some people really love it, like you and I, and then some people have minor gripes. One gripe is that it ends like 3 or 4 times. And then the second one is that they wish that those scenes where we learn his backstory happen a little bit sooner. Because I do think when you find out that he was forced to go to space, spoiler alert if we haven't already done
We're
a
in
lot
space.
Of it. When we find out that Grace was forced to go to space, that he didn't choose to do this, it's already well after they discover the amoeba on the other planet. So it's already like 2 hours into the movie. And people have gripes with that. I want your take on that, and then I'll give mine. But I know you and I don't have much of a problem with that. And I want to discuss maybe why some people do and why we necessarily don't.
And which take was that again?
We at the end of the day, I just think that they are drip feeding that important backstory, because, you know, a lot of people don't even realize that when we see his backstory, that's him remembering those scenes.
Got it.
And I think it's very impactful to get them drip fed throughout the story, because for the most part, he thinks he's a brave scientist that went on this mission.
Yeah, and so I guess to answer on that, again, I agree with you. I really enjoy it. I think it's perfect in what they're doing and the kind of movie they're making. Where I won't be mentioning the book because I have not read it, and after this I now want to read it, especially since I've heard so much debates on this was taken out, this was important, or you know, this could have been
character is apparently
completely different. And where I completely understand people wanting the book to be more added to the movie, I'm also a big person in media to realize that if a book is a book, a movie is a movie, and there's differences there, that is okay.
Sure.
Right? Because every creator, he was a part of himself, the book and the movie, is allowed to make these differences between two medias, and sometimes they just want to capture a different vision.
Yeah.
And the book has a lot more harsh tones to it, a lot more serious, or the realism that people are missing out on. I'm going to put that aside, and if I read the book, maybe I'll come back and talk to y'all how I feel. I think it was perfectly done for the movie and what we saw. Yeah. They're trying to tell a more, not even heroic, but the hero elements are in there, more passionful, empathetical story.
I think it's okay to say that this movie wants to be optimistic, and it's unabashedly optimistic.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that. And there are the parts that they show that feel jarring. That's on purpose, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right. Those moments, like one of the biggest ones that people have the problem with is when you cut to finding out that Grace is forced on this mission and pretty much sent without his will or consent. And that is a very harsh moment. However, I think it was played together very well with the previous scene we get with the karaoke, where you can see this is not a decision she necessarily wants to make. And that's kind of how I felt with her character, where it's like she's making the hard decisions because she has to. Yeah. Because if she doesn't, who will? And that might not be the best person in real life, but it was necessary to get him there. And I'm not saying that was great, but it was necessary, right?
And Stratus, an interesting character in that aspect, where if she hadn't done that, the world would be doomed. She knew that sending Ryland Grace was the move. Like, it was not the objectively right thing to do, but her plan worked.
Yep. And
so,
I think...
yeah, she saved the Earth. And yeah, you kind of have to be, this is from Invincible, but it's like, you could be the good guy or you could be the guy that saves the world. Like,
and there's a lot of Cecil connections that I was thinking about with it too. So that we mentioned Cecil. I think there are characters like this that have empathy without the placement of putting that first.
Yeah.
Right? Their empathy is coming into more of like a quote unquote logic side, but that doesn't mean they don't care about their actions, their decisions. Yes, of course, there's a lot of characters who make things that are just kind of more cruel and more self-centered, and maybe it's very much less empathetical. In my opinion, she was making these decisions in the parallel of Grace's empathy, where Grace wants to fix these things for humanity, but he was just kind of too scared to make that decision himself or put himself in those shoes until he had to. Then he proved it throughout his journey. She was someone who didn't have that fear and was ready to make any next steps necessary to save Earth, but she did care.
Yeah, no, she definitely cares. And she even has the line where he says, like, oh, this must be hard. And she's like, really, it's not. Because at the end of the day, she wants to save the Earth. She cares so much for the Earth. And I think that's, it's a very complex and interesting character. And I think it's, I've also heard in the book as well, she goes to even farther extremes where she covers the entire Sahara Desert in astrophage farms. That changes the biomes a little bit. And then she even nukes the polar ice caps in order to warm the planet a little bit. And like, yeah, those are absolutely extreme. She's doing literally whatever she can to save the Earth. And I think in the book, they say that she also gets arrested and tried for war crimes and whatever because of that. And, it's very tough. I could only imagine the stress and the choices that you have to make when you're the person at the top,
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I know that was cut for certain reasons to kind of help with timing and to more touch on that optimistic tone, which I think Andy wanted to do on purpose, and he mentions it in like videos you watch of him talking past the movie, behind the scenes stuff. I know she has a tattoo that's supposed to resemble the prison that she was either supposed to be in the books, or that she was in. We just don't get to see any of that side of the things. Again, I think it's more than fine that we're not getting that information because we're trying to tell a different story.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it, like we keep saying, it does that story perfectly. It as well follows into a brotherly relationship of two people meeting and saving the world.
And that's what I think the important part of this movie being optimistic and having those few endings plays a key factor, is because those endings are important to Rocky and Grace's story. Yes, you can just tell a story of a guy going to space and solving this problem and saving the Earth, but a lot of the story, the important parts of the story, are his relationship with Rocky, and it's those two. So yeah, you need to have those multiple endings. You need to have the possible death of Rocky. You need to have them parting their ways and feeling like you're never going to see each other again. And then you need to have Grace say that he's going to sacrifice going home to save Rocky. Because he didn't have to do that. But he did, because just earlier in the movie, Rocky risked his life to save Grace. So it just shows how much these people are incredibly compassionate and care for each other. And I think that's the special part of the movie.
Yeah, I think the emotional tug strings were necessary.
Of course.
Right? Those are the instruments they're using to get the reactions out of us that they wanted to. So if you're watching the movie and you're sad or angry and feeling like you're getting pushed around, it's on purpose, right? And I think that was, every moment like that was done for a reason. I enjoyed every single one. I really don't even get half of the reasons why some people don't like them. Even the sense of a hot take I've heard before is the pet relationship between Grace and Rocky. And
yeah, I really do think that just comes down to Rocky's vocabulary being limited to like a few hundred words. So instead of having perfect grammar, he says things that are choppy, and it kind of sounds like, it could be like if you made your dog speak English.
I mean, in the verse, how do you think it sounds like for Rocky, right? When he's hearing Grace talk. And
yeah.
like,
I mean, and Rocky's also a jokester. So it's like you pair those two things, and then it's people. Because the main thing people are talking about is when Rocky first goes onto the ship and is like, dirty, dirty, dirty. Where's my room? And this and that. And people are like, what is he, a puppy? It's like, no, he's a scientist who's excited, just very optimistic and excited. Like,
well, it's like, imagine like how you're going onto a new ship and you're seeing all these crazy things you've never seen before.
Yeah, and he's not fearful.
So he's full of excitement. He's like you said, he's a scientist. He's excited. He's seeing top of ramen and being like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Like, is this a foundational tool? Is this something you eat, right? Like, so he's full of that joy. He's full of this energy running around, where I think Grace's character is a little more reversed to him. He's a little bit more hesitant. He's doesn't have his own memories fully, but he's also trying to figure things out. He's trying to question things. He's a little bit more quieter when he's thinking, right? Yeah. Because there's different kinds of...
He's also less sure of himself, whereas Rocky is more sure of himself.
Right.
And that's the big thing of why he's more recluse and more quiet and thinking instead of being just fully out, you know?
And Rocky's lived longer. He's
wiser. Lived way longer. It's revealed that Rocky was in space for like 40-something years.
Which killed me.
It's so sad. Sobbing like, he was in space for that long with nobody. And it's like, oh... And
which is why at that point, like, Grace, even the name Grace, right, is like a sense of grace to Rocky and feeling like I'm not alone, because I was alone for 40 years. I had to watch, I watched, right, a whole thing with the Rockies, with the Iridians, just watching each other sleep to make sure you're okay and then you wake up. And
they're a social creature.
They're a social creature. So imagine not having anything social for 40 years. He could have went insane. Yeah. Could have went wild. Could have turned into something that was a little bit lost-minded. But he's just so full of that optimism. Yeah. Even more than Grace at some points, where it's like he knew it was gonna work out for whatever that meant to him.
And I didn't like the people who talk about the drastic tones. Yes, they're there, but I never even got like whiplash from it, because it didn't have like Marvel humor where it's like, oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like, Grace isn't a funny guy. Like, he's not telling jokes. He's just saying things that are funny.
Yeah.
And then on the inverse of that, Rocky, it, like, you know, he's snarky with Grace, but he'll say something that is funny because it's a robot like voice talking through a rock creature. Like,
their humor is banter. It's a social banter, like we said, right? They're not making those like overforced jokes that are like making space humor, or like where they're around. It's just like what two buds would do, you know, after being with each other for so long, right? They're creating versions of their interlanguage between them two, past the Iridian language, past English. They're speaking in a way that only Rocky and Grace would understand.
Exactly.
They've created their own bond. They've created their own language with like the thumbs up for the thumbs down instead. Amaze, 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 right?
Amaze,
like,
amaze, amaze.
So many different, you know, innuendos, as they would say, between each other that they share, that if anyone else... Fist my bump. If anyone else heard, they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But to them, it's like, they get it, right? Yeah. At some points, they're probably talking to each other in their minds telepathically in a way that's just like, yeah, I get it, right? Yeah. They're learning each other's body language.
They're friends. They get it.
They're friends. They're pals. They're besties.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, I do want to give a quick shout out to some of the people that, you know, really made this movie great. Ryan Gosling. I don't know if he's going to win Best Actor, but I do hope he at least gets a nomination.
You saying that is something that I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
This movie, in my opinion, I enjoyed it more than mostly all the Oscar movies I saw last year.
Okay.
That is my hot take, and I really do hope this movie is not forgotten in the next Oscar run because it came out so early within.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of potential categories for this movie, which I know you're going to get into.
Yeah.
Because it deserves it.
Yeah, I don't think it will, because I don't think it'll be forgotten because it's made a lot of money, and I don't really like that as like a measure of like how well something is made. However, people went out the first week, told all their friends how amazing it was, and then everyone kept going. It got an extended release for over a month, and most movies don't even do that anymore. But anyways, I have Ryan Gosling. He was phenomenal. James Ortiz, the guy who played and then even did the puppeter for Rocky. Yeah. And he did it phenomenally.
Not only did the lead puppetry for it, but did the voice. Like,
yeah.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He definitely deserves recognition for that. which is cool to see Rocky getting the recognition nomination, but I mean, you can't forget the person doing it.
Exactly. And then there aren't too many characters, but Sandra Hüller as Strat. And then, do you remember when we were watching the movie and Carl was on screen for like, you know, the first act, he's on screen a lot because they do the backstory.
You nudge me and you're like,
and I go, who is that? I know him. And you lean over and you're like, yo, he's Marcus from The Bear. And then I started punching you, and I'm like, oh my God. Because, yeah, Lionel Boyce also played a great job. I really hope to see more from him because I think he was great.
Seeing
he played that character
Lionel in the trailer, when I first saw the Hail Mary trailer, which I only saw the first one because I was trying not to see anything else.
Yeah.
I went, he booked. And I'm so happy to see him in the movie because, I mean, one of my favorite parts of The Bear, but like seeing him in this, and I think he did phenomenal for what side role he had.
Agreed.
Which again, a lot of the characters or the actors that were saying where they didn't have much opportunity because the movie was not selected around them. Again, these are good examples of people who understand their role and their assignment and make it truly that. And I can feel it within his character.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. Like you and I have talked about The Bear, and we both really like Marcus as a character and his story arcs going on with that. But yeah, I mean, and Lord and Miller, they really showed their chops with this. And again, who knows what else is going to be coming out this year? There's a lot of great movies coming out. But I do hope they get a nomination. I hope this movie gets a Best Picture nomination. The blockbusters typically don't. However, I think this is a special blockbuster. And with that, let's get into what we rated it on Letterbox. I have a feeling, an inkling, based on the fact that you said it's better than every movie you saw last year, that I think you rated it above a 4.5.
It was a 1 star.
It's so true. 2 thumbs down, right?
2 thumbs down, the only star I care about, because of course it's 5.
Yeah.
I think, you know, where you said a Hollywood movie, I understand that inclination, but like, again, this movie impacted me in a way that it tugged on those right emotional feelings, but also the visuals are beautiful. The sound and score that they use is beautiful. The way that they represent the characters and they do the fake outs and the acts, which I think where it feels like a movie, I still consider it a film. Yeah, I think it's doing all the techniques. It's trying to make that impact and that experience, but it also understands the story that it's telling. Sure. I mean, when they play at the end, Gracias a la vida, like, dude, I was dead. Like, I was sad. Like, and it's just like moments like that, those cues, those puzzles that they know what they're doing, is why I gave it such a high review. And I think it is better than a lot of the Oscar movies that I saw. And I'm waiting to see what else comes out this year, but it's going to be a very hard competition for me.
Sure.
But you saw it 3 times. So how was that for you?
Yeah, I remember leaving the theater with you and I said easily 4.5. I will see about the 5-star. I think I got home and then did give it the 5-star. And then when I saw it again for the second time, leaving the theater, especially when you watch something with somebody and you see how much it impacted them, because it instantly became my partner's top 4 on Letterboxd. Like, it jumped immediately into that category. And I think that's so awesome. Seeing how much it was impacting them while watching the movie made it impact me as well. And then I was like, duh, this is a 5-star. And then when I saw it for the third time a week later, I was like, yeah, this is a 5-star. This is a 5-star movie to me. It captures so many different tones. It is done really well. Like I said, the score, the cinematography, the script, all done really well. The acting is phenomenal. I love Ryan Gosling. He's always been amazing. This is one of his best works. And I'm so excited to see what else he does.
And yeah, I think going into Ryan Gosling, it is a part of the many of the I'm still him for real categories that Ryan Gosling creates. I think he's such a spectacle of an actor to really design himself differently in each role. Even though you know it's Ryan Gosling when you're watching it, you also feel like it's a different character, right? Yeah. Or if I compare Grace to Driver and Drive, right? Like,
for sure.
Do I know they're both Ryan? Do they look similar? Sure. But I feel like they're different characters because of how he's portraying it. And he's a very like body focused kind of actor.
Sure.
So a lot of his interactions that he uses with his hands or his face are a little bit different. I mean, the glasses being sideways is so iconic, and it's something so simple like that.
Yeah.
But I think he deserves a lot of that recognition for it. Where
Yeah.
I love a lot of his work. Like you said, this is one of the most impactful he's done.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So that's been our thoughts on Project Hail Mary. Do you have anything else you want to say about this little bit?
Yeah,
of
I think I'm gonna give just a quick couple of letterbox reviews that we've done that I've seen.
Yeah, of course.
Just to kind of go in with the tradition of us doing that.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and get those now.
I think while you're loading that up, I'll read mine. I think I wrote for my first review, Rocky is my favorite Rocky in cinema history. And then after that, I wrote, because I rated it 3 times because I'm a nut when I do letterbox. You have to. Yeah. So the second time I wrote, yep, still good. And then I watched it the third time. I went, yep, still good.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of good ones out there. I told Faith that I loved hers so much because it's such a her review. I'm going to read that one.
Let me hear it.
I love Rocky and also Ryan. He slayed. Genuinely a really good movie. It was both very sad and very funny, and that's hard to do. So good job. Yay.
And so very Faith.
Honestly,
shout out to our friend.
Shout out Faith, but also kind of does break down the movie. It's a really good review.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also some really good ones, like it's a So Him For Real movie. This goddamn puppet is ruining my life. Shout out your partner.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was rage.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's so good. A review that I didn't put that I was thinking about because I've been getting into the X-Files a lot lately, as you know.
Sure.
Like, I know Mulder would be proud.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I know he's so happy about this.
Yeah. But it was great. It was just a really great movie. It was just a wonderful time, and I'm very thankful that we took the time to review it. If you are listening to this and you have seen Project Hail Mary, let us know your thoughts in the comments. You know, we would love to hear people talk about it. We will tell you. We will talk to you in the comments, see how you feel about it. I'd love to get that conversation going.
Let us know how yapping is healing in space and how really doing that helps you out. Put a thumbs down in the comments for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
only time we'll accept a thumbs down.
We had a special message from Rocky to share with all of you, but since we don't want to be copyrighted for this, I'm going to go ahead and perform what he told me to say to you all. We'll keep that one.
I like it. All right. But with that, we are coasting the Mediaverse. I'm Brian.
I'm Michael.
Catch you later, guys.